Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. Trust everybody's doing well. Once again, welcome to our monthly deep dive call. This call is every third Saturday of each month where we have our practitioner come in and then share their experience on a particular application area or product area and then give us their perspective and then provide us with high level demo and then the lessons learned and then resources that we can use so that way we can move the needle or drive that conversation forward. So today we are very fortunate to have Nonye come share her experience with us. She's going to be on the ITOM Event Management topic, and she'll be giving us the analyst perspective. So once again, welcome, Noye, and thank you. We're glad to have you come share with us. So the floor is yours. You can go ahead and take it away. But before we get going, all of this is online via WebEx. After the session, the recording will be shared on LinkedIn and then on the other social media channels as well as YouTube. What you should remember is you are able to use the future. So you can always put your question in the chat. That way, that question would be asked, as we get to it. So that way we can also, if you try to ask a question as well, and you're on muting, be mindful about the background noise that you might have, so that way you don't interfere with us too. But that's it for me. Take it away, Noya, over to you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Sorry, in case my voice becomes low, please do just ignore, please. A moment, please, so that I
Not a
can share
problem.
my
Take your time.
screen. Okay. Please let me know if you see my screen.
Yeah, not yet.
Okay. What's happening? Okay. How about now?
Wait a couple of minutes. It's not there yet, but are you using multiple screens? But if
Yes, I
not,
am.
once you okay, so you have to be specific for the
Please give me about, because I'm
device.
trying to even figure out if I'm sharing the right way.
Okay. So if you're using multiple monitors, it depends on which is the primary, because the primary will be where you're
Yeah.
sharing from. But if you can, on the current device where you're speaking from, if you're sharing from there and you share, it would ask for you to select, which of the devices you want for your display. Then you can now select, screen 1 or 2.
Today, please.
Okay.
Okay, so I was actually doing it correctly. Let's do it again.
That's also part of technology. So sometimes you can be set ready to go. That can happen. But it's something that, you would be able to gracefully go through with resolving it. Technology sometimes doesn't respond as we would like it, or even after having prepared beforehand, that can happen too. It's how you handle it that really matters.
Okay. Oh, come on, come on, come on. Okay.
But you're not using an Apple device, correct? Or no?
No, I'm not, but like my screen seems to be fine now, so I think I'll try again.
Okay.
Do you see my screen now?
Yeah, good. Good. Then.
Okay,
That's it.
great. Hi everyone again. Um, it's nice to be here with you all. My name is Noya and I am a ServiceNow business analyst, and I'm happy to be talking to you today on ServiceNow event management, particularly like kind of telling my story from my own experience implementing ITOM event management from an analyst perspective. Like I said, I'm a business analyst, and what I do is basically work with clients to figure out what the business problem is. And I say that to work out the business problem because, like we know, sometimes the clients don't really know what exactly they want or even what the problem is. So sometimes it requires some kind of digging and questioning to be able to, find the root cause of what the problem is really. Um, so event management, the way I like to kind of play it out for us on a daily basis is the way a way to kind of prioritize events that are coming in, more like where issues are. Some of us have must have experienced this sometime, maybe when we're sleeping and we start to get some kind of alert in our phones, and these alerts are not necessarily even proper messages. It could be notification or spam messages. And you wake up by that time, and then you pick up the call or you read the message and it's not important. So event management kind of, like I'm likening event management to that kind of situation where it helps organizations, eliminate noise, so to say, so that they are able to focus on things that are really needing attention, and they are also able to, improve their service delivery for real issues where they pay attention to where they need to be paying attention. So for today, I will try my very best to go over event management, the capabilities, right? And then kind of walk through the key areas of event management in ServiceNow. And then kind of also give us a few use cases and then maybe a demo session just to show what it looks like on the platform. So this now begs the question of what really event management is. And I'd earlier described event management, with my own terms, but I was quick. Okay, yeah. But I would say that event management is the monitoring of the health and infrastructure that an organization has using a single management console so that you can enable your teams to be able to respond to issues that come up faster. And it helps you to filter the noise so that you don't have everything, giving your attention to every single thing, but you are able to focus on what really matters. It helps you to classify these events that come into your organization. You're able to also correlate these events, right? When I mean correlation is more like grouping them together so that you're not responding to the same event or different teams responding to the same event in multiple places, sort of. And also it would also help organizations prioritize events coming from different monitoring tools, so to say. So at the end of the day, what organizations really want to get out of implementing event management would just be, number one, maybe reducing noise, sorry, reducing alert noise, and automating resolutions as well, because people, for instance, the organization I implemented this for previously used to um, make their event straight into incident. Like if the event comes into ServiceNow as incident, right? So what's the reason why part of the reason why they implemented this was because they also wanted to leverage the automation part of the product to be able to, automate some of these resolutions, especially alerts that are like warning or informational. They want to be able to acknowledge these alerts and, get that out of the way. And organizations have massive amount of, raw data coming in, and it would then be very necessary for you to and your team to be focusing on meaningful alerts and not just, having your teams do things that on a normal day you can automate and resolve. Okay, so the ServiceNow item suite provides a complete solution for mapping, maintaining, and restoring business services. We all know that, maybe we don't, but discovery basically discovers configuration items, right? And then what it does as well is it discovers the configuration items that make up the IT infrastructure, then provide classification as well for these configuration items. So it helps to populate and enrich the configuration items in the CMDB. And the CMDB itself is where this assets and services are controlled, more like warehouse, or I would call it the configuration item database, right? And the service mapping then takes us to the next level. So what I'm trying to do here is kind of define how event management comes into, or, the part it plays in the whole item suite generally. And then for service mapping, what service mapping does is it provides targeted mapping of the IT components that support our application services and ServiceNow. So the CMDB becomes not just a warehouse of configuration items. It then becomes a service-aware, dependency map where you are able to see your CIs and the application services or business services, that are dependent on them. That brings us to event management. How does the event management play into this whole thing? So event management would then be responsible for, collaborating with existing monitoring systems or monitoring tools to provide IT teams with real-time state of the IT infrastructure. The application process would go through a couple of processes. I'll call them event processing. It involves, several steps of filtering, correlation, and all that to be able to give online real time of what is happening with your IT infrastructure. So this is, I gave you a use case, an example of a use case of why a client of mine implemented event management, right? So for them, they have multiple monitoring tools, and these different monitoring tools are more like managed by different teams, and these teams were all in silos. So what they wanted really will be a console where all these monitoring tools can, they can have an overview of all the data coming in from all these monitoring tools, as well as leverage the, alert automation process of the event management in ServiceNow. So typically, event management will collect and analyze event from multiple monitoring sources. It then centralizes it into a single console for better visibility. So instead of overwhelming IT teams with notifications, it will then correlate all these alerts to reduce the noise so that they focus on the real issues. It integrates with multiple, and for ServiceNow, there are multiple of monitoring tools that, that can be integrated with this event management too. So usually what benefits this would also be for the team would be that because you're focusing on the real thing, it also means that your mean time to resolution, which is a very important matrix to most IT service team, the mean time to resolution is reduced. We have several kinds of monitoring tools, and I hope to be able to show maybe quite a few of them. So event management in ServiceNow have these capabilities here. We talked about already how it's, ingests data, event data from various monitoring tools. And then it goes through a process of filtering to make sure that there are no duplicates. And also, importantly, to enrich the data that, that is coming in from this monitoring tools in terms of enriching it with the CI, which that event coming in is related to. It binds it to a CI, and also so that when you're getting the alerts, you have enough information for your IT team. It leverages what we call alert correlation as well to group these alerts that are created. So when these alerts are created, they are grouped together. There are different ways to group these alerts together. You can group them. You can either have like a grouping by the application, or by you can create a tag as well to be able to group these alerts together. And because there is what we call the CI binding, the alert maps the configuration items to the CI binding functionality helps to bind the CI to the alert, giving context on the affected systems, so that you are able to identify affected services, and you are able to also do your root cause analysis easily. In event management as well, there could also be the implementation of in the alert intelligence, where your platform starts to also do some what we call self-healing. You start to attain the level where you are now doing self-healing, where you detect things even before they happen. So your platform and your IT teams are not reactive anymore to issues, right? They become proactive to detect these issues even before they happen. These are a few terminology that that are used in the event management module. So I would say the important ones, which I will go over right now, would be the event, alert, threshold, and incidents as well. We know incident for sure. Even if we're not in ServiceNow, we probably know incidents in other places, how we've opened incidents for issues to be resolved by IT service teams or help desk. So event here are basically notifications from monitoring tools, which indicates that something of interest or something that could be of interest has occurred. So it could be a warning, it could be a real failure, it could also be informational. Informational being that maybe you're doing an upgrade, and after the upgrade is done, or there's a change, you are having a change window, and when that change is done, you get an event comes in, more like informational, to let you know about something, but it's not really a failure or an issue. Then we have alert. So alert, I would say alert is more like a promoted event, right? So alerts are actionable notifications created from, it could be from one event, or it could be from a group event, because you can get multiple events for one issue, so to say. So alerts are more like actionable notifications that is being created for one or more events when the conditions or rules are met. And for threshold, before I say threshold, let me go over maybe metric first. So a metric is a measure of an operating characteristics. For instance, a metric could be the CPU load, disk size, memory used. So those are examples of what metrics are. So, and thresholds are more like predefined limit or condition that when, this exceeds this certain limit or this certain size, then that's a threshold will be considered like I'm trying to see how best to define that right now. Let's just say threshold is a limit or a condition that is defined, using a metric. So you can define a threshold using a metric to say 70% disk usage. So as soon as that threshold is reached, you start to get the alert for that particular infrastructure or whatever it is that you're monitoring is monitoring. And incidents here will be more like something that is derived from an unplanned event that negatively impacts business service and of course needs a resolution. I won't be going over everything here. Hopefully we kind of touched upon them as we go on. Yeah, I hope. So here we have a flow of what the event management looks like. You've heard me say this many times, and I'm going to say it again, that when the event gets collected from, the monitoring tools, what happens is that we apply what we call event rules. So event rules are applied at the event to create alerts. So what these event rules do is that they map events to alert, and it also helps you to reduce the noise. So you determine from that event processing stage what turns into an alert. So if these events coming in from the monitoring tools meet this criteria or meet the predefined criteria or qualifications, then they become alerts. They trigger an alert in the system. And this alerts, we have what we call this event rule also helps to correlate this alert, right? So that you don't have every single event becoming an alert. So it also helps you, which is dependent on some machine learning. So this is done automatically to correlate these rules and then group these alerts into maybe it will become a primary alert and then the other alerts become secondary, so that you don't have every single event coming in creating an alert and your team is being notified by that. So with that, you use the alert management. There's another rule that is usually defined in the system called the alert management rule. So the alert management rule basically is how you then implement remediation actions, so to say. So when this become alerts, what then happens really? What do you want to happen now that you have the alert? So you either want to assign this to, right, that there are remediation actions. Of course, these alerts are also assigned to certain teams depending on what CI is affected. So they're assigned to teams, but there are cases where you also want some automation happening, or you want to do some automatic remediation. So alerts can create incidents as well in ServiceNow, which can also be assigned to a team to say, okay, something is wrong and needs, resolution or needs assessment to know what the issue is. You can also use this alert management rules to do what we call or trigger a knowledge-based article. You can use it to even call an application as well, open up another application. So you can attach these alert management rules to sub flows to call, trigger sub flows or trigger flows as well. I'm not going to be going into that. You all know that, I know, because that's a little bit technical right now, and I don't think I even have to go over that right now. So another thing we get from this is also event management also helps to calculate the cumulative impact of the issue you're having. So you can also use it to calculate what the issue is, what the impact of that issue is, and the services that are affected. So for this, for you to even start receiving, for you to start receiving this whole event into your system, there needs to be some form of configurations done, right? So organizations use different monitoring tools and all to monitor different infrastructure. It could be the network, servers, applications. It could even be cloud services as well. So as these tools generate events, they come in with as alerts and indicate some kind of status. And it's impossible for it is possible, but it's hard for teams, right? Well, even if it is not the same team, it could be that different teams are managing this, but usually some of these monitoring tools are monitoring, could be monitoring even the same infrastructure as well, but they all have that. So in order for you to have everything in one place, we leverage what we call the, I think I want to use this. We leverage the workspace, right? The service operations workspace. So the service operation workspace, what it does is that it brings together IT operations and service management in a unified, to give a unified experience. It also helps you to, have visibility on all your monitoring tools in one place. You have also visibility on the alerts you're getting and the matrix. It also helps your IT service team to easily prioritize work based on the service level agreement, priority, severity, or urgency of these alerts that are coming in. So it really is, it's the service operations workspace is very helpful in helping teams prioritize tasks, especially when it's by priority. So how in this service operations workspace, we have what we call the integration launch pad. Yes, we have what we call the integration launch pad, and this is exactly where we start to find connectors. So the integration launch pad provides, it's like an interface where you browse connectors, and where you can also configure and optimize connectors for event sources. The integration, it helps us to monitor health and performance of all the integrations that we have, and also even provide recommendations in ways that we can improve this whole integrations. So I'm showing that I started with the service workspace because this integration launchpad can be found by navigating to the service operations workspace. And in there, you would see two tabs. I don't know if this is clear enough. Please let me know if you see clearly. Hold on. Do you see bold enough to see what this highlighted part? Please let me know if you need me to zoom in or something. Okay. So you would see two tabs. You would see the tab that says browse integrations, and there's another one for installed integration. So the installed one, as the name states, is to let you know what you already have installed in your environment. It provides you an overview of installed integration connectors in your environment. And then for the browse integration tab, that's how you search for integrations that you have. And ServiceNow has a good number of out-of-the-box connectors within this integration launchpad. So it would be great that before for any any implementation that you have to firstly come over here and see if there is a connector already. And of course, like we know, ServiceNow is constantly improving and, bringing in new things. So that's all, even if maybe by your last implementation, that connector didn't exist, it also makes sense to still check before the next implementation, because a new connector could have been added in there. So looking at this launch pad right now, you see that in there we have, that's where we find the connectors. And in ServiceNow, we have 3 types of connectors. In ServiceNow, we have what we call the pull connectors, we have what we call the push connectors, and then the custom connectors. I think I'm a little bit behind. So this is basically what the dashboard, the service operations workspace dashboard looks like, with all the alerts coming in, and it's easy for you to know which one is critical, because also it has this color coding, and the ones that do not require any attention as well. So this is what your IT team that responsible for event management this is what they would have as an overview. So back to the connectors. Yes. So when we say the pull and push connector, and then we have the custom connectors. So you can also filter your search for pull connectors. You can filter the search by push connectors, and you can also filter by custom. This custom one would be like, for any connectors that are custom, that was custom built. So you can filter to see just those. The pull connectors basically just use the MID server to pull event sources, So what happens is that these connectors pull this data from event sources at regular intervals using a scheduled job. So your organization would definitely determine how often this pulling would happen. How often it would happen, to pull this data from the monitoring tools, basically. The push connectors is the other way around, where it's still through the Meet server, but it's more like you now have a listener, right, to receive events that are being pushed into ServiceNow by the event sources, by the monitoring tools. These are just the examples of pull connectors that we have in ServiceNow. These are already existing pull connectors in ServiceNow. And also these are the push connectors in ServiceNow. So in event management, there are key table that we have, key event management tables that are used in event management. And it's the event management table and the alert table. So when this event coming from the monitoring tools or monitoring systems, they are then, of course, they need to also have all the details needed, all the details of the issues as well. When they come in, where they come into is the event management table in ServiceNow. And then after these events have been processed, filtered, qualified, they then trigger alerts. And when these alerts are generated, they are stored in the alerts table. Then this other CI services table is CMDB CI service table, is just basically a table that helps to tie this event alert to the CI, and also creates like a service mapping to what services are affected by this event or this alert. This is just to provide important event attributes, right? So these are important attributes that help to define how the event will be processed, categorized, escalated into an alert or incident. So going through this real quickly, we'll see the states. The state here basically tells you the life cycle of this event. It lets us know what stage this event is at. It defines, what's currently happening with this event. What it helps us to do is track whether an event is being processed, if it's already handled, or it was ignored, or if it even has an error. That's what that particular field helps us to do. And then we have the next attribute is the message key. This I would define as a unique identifier that is assigned to each event. And I say so because the message key is supposed to uniquely identify the event, and it helps to determine if this event already exists in the system, right? Or if there's an existing alert for this event already, so that it's not creating multiple events for the same issue. So this message key determines whether there is a repeat or you're updating an existing event which is already associated to an alert. So the same event would have the same message key. And that's the way you avoid duplication of events, right? So because when the same event is coming in, it would have the same message key. That way, the message key attribute is used for the deduplication. And the processing node basically just captures information that, about the alert, about whether the alert is processing or if there's a CI binding. So this is where you find information that if an event is mapped to the correct CI, or if no CI was found to map the event to or bind the event to. Then we have the node. The node here would be the physical or virtual device or host where the event is happening or where the event happened, right? It tells you whether it's a server, it tells you if it's a router, it tells you if it's a network component that is having the issue. The source, this one does basically tells us the monitoring tool that generated the event. And like I said earlier, many organizations have multiple monitoring tools. So you also want to know what the event coming in, which particular monitoring tool is pulling it in, or is pushing that data in. We'll have the severity. This one tells you the criticality of the event that that was just created. It also helps to inform how prioritization is done, because of course critical events require immediate escalation. Why the ones that are minor or warning events would just be there for monitoring purposes, right? But they don't require immediate action. We have the description attribute, which is this one mostly appears as a text. You see the example column here, which gives an example of what these attributes would look like in the event record, right? So this description, it basically provides context of the event. It just provides extra details about this event, yes. And then the type basically tells us the category of the event. It just makes it easier for us to be able to filter if the need be. For instance, you want to filter memory-related event. You want to filter disk-related event. It helps us with filtering to be able to analyze maybe a trend or recent events that have been happening. So taking a closer look at the event processing here would be like it shows how the event comes in to the event table, and event rules are applied to check in to see if these event rules are also done in order. So we have orders for event rules, right? So as the events arrive, event rules are checked in their assigned order for matching source and any optional filters as well. If the rule ignore, you can also decide to ignore some certain events, right? So you can decide to use the ignore once the event meets some certain criteria or qualification, then the ignore checkbox would be selected so that no alert will be generated for that particular event. So the event will still be in the event table, but it will only be there for then for review and and maybe remediation, but definitely not creating an alert at that point. So if the transform or compose field have been defined as well, this will also be applied at that point. If the threshold was set, it would be applied at that event processing stage. At that point, it would then check if if you should be applying also any additional rules, if the threshold is disabled or whatever. At this point, anyways, at this event processing point, this is where really you determine what events become alerts or what events become incident in ServiceNow. If no rules are found during the event processing stage, where maybe no event rules are found to match anything, what happens is that the default binding will use the node field to locate a matching CI based on maybe the host name, IP, or MAC address. After the whole event processing is done, and then we move into the event field mapping stage. The event field mapping, basically, what it does is to ensure that the events coming in from the monitoring tools are being mapped to the right field in the event management table. Make sure that you're mapping severity to the severity field in the event management table as well. And of course, different monitoring tools have different ways that they name their attributes. So this is another benefit of using this event management, because it also helps you to kind of normalize all the information that are coming in from these different monitoring tools, right? To give them same terminology, basically, in ServiceNow. So if there is anything else that, SolarWinds or Splunk calls a certain attribute, when they come into ServiceNow, you normalize all of them as they come into the event management table. So that's what the event mapping stage really is for. And then we move to the duplication and alert creation stage, of course, where we do you check if alert has already been created for this event before. Is this a new event? Is this an existing event? And if it's a new event, then you create an alert for it. But if it's an existing event, all you then do is to update the existing alert. This slide is to go over the attributes, important attribute for alerts as well, similar to what we had for the event attributes. So alerts, basically, what alert does for us is that it signals operators that something important has happened within the infrastructure that needs attention. These alerts can be grouped to simplify, investigation and root cause analysis. It can be grouped by severity, it can be grouped by priority. And then alerts can also be using the CI binding, can be bound to CI, so that when your teams are doing investigation or root cause analysis, they have information to be able to drive resolution. They see the CI that is affected, and they can then go into the root cause analysis that they want to do for remediation activities. After this alert, after this alert is created, we then go into what we call the alert automation, which I touched on before now, which could be using automation to create incidents, assigning this alert to your team, and then they take the further steps, right? So, and for organizations that want to leverage the automation part, there are okay, I think this. Let me I'll switch my screen real quick to share another screen of mine. Please let me know if you see my screen again. I'm trying to share another screen entirely now.
Yeah, sure, we can see it now. Go ahead.
Great. So when these alerts are created, you could decide to, your team then decides what happens to this alert. Does it create just a standard incident or a major incident candidate, or does it create a major incident in ServiceNow? So depending on what happens afterwards, your team can then, do remediation task, or automated remediation task can then happen afterwards. So for my own project and during my implementation was a little bit more complicated or complex, in the sense that it involved a couple of more integrations, not just the connectors anymore right now. So because what the clients wanted to happen would be for when the alert is created, a major incident record will be created in ServiceNow, depending on what the priority of that incident is. So P1, P2 will create a major incident in ServiceNow, while a P3, P4 would then just create an incident that it will be assigned to a certain team. And afterwards, an outage, if it's a P1, P2, then we want to automatically post an outage to the organization, like on the organization well, more like their internal
Intranet,
channel, yes,
yeah.
to post an outage in their internal channel. And after that is done as well, they wanted to be able to set up a bridge call at the same time using Google Meet, right? So part of the complication, or part of what made this complex, is that they wanted to be able to leverage the CI from the events, the alerts, to then find the teams, the infrastructural teams responsible for these CIs, and call them into a meeting, right? Using the Google Spoke. So when the bridge call is set up, three things basically happen, or rather, should I say, four things happen. So one will be the outage posting. The second one will be to set up a bridge call using Google Meet. The third one would be to post in the different channels. So if it's a P1, P2 incident that was created, then a post will be made in the Google channel for P1, P2, so that the teams responsible for P1, P2 can get the alert also in the Google chat and start investigation. If it's a P3, P4, a message will be sent in the channel for P3, P4 as well, to alert the team for them to, take remediation actions as well. And the last bit of what they wanted to happen would be, as soon as the incident has been resolved, they wanted another posting. So it was more like a bi-directional, integration at that point. Will go into the internal team's channel as well to state that the outage has been resolved. And also then from the Google Meet, map the transcript of that call to the incident or the major incident record. I just wanted to, this is not a demo, but I just wanted to maybe take, advantage of going over this from the platform view. So this is my PDI. It's going through something. Definitely have no idea what the problem is. I have created, but I just remember that I haven't received any response from them for quite a while. So I'm using the lab instance from this to just do a little bit of simulation of what this looks like when an event comes in, and how it turns into an alert, and how the CI binding happens, and also what it looks like on the service operation workspace. So I'm going to be using this simulator here to, this is generate load sample. Please, you have to be patient with me. My laptop is also going through something for sure. So this, I'm going to be testing this right now for us to see what, so these are the attributes I earlier went over before. Now we have the node. So, but if we notice something here, the node here is empty. There's no node being stated here. So, which means we have no idea where this is coming from, basically, right? So now what we want to do is send this into, the event management table in ServiceNow and see what happens, and see if there's any event rule that can be applied to this. So here's the events that just came into ServiceNow right now. And what we can see is that this event right now, if we're looking at the processing notes where, we have all the information of, how this particular event processed in ServiceNow, we can see that it states here clearly that the event CI type is empty, right? Because of course there's no CI binding alert, CI process flow, no CI was found for binding. So the CI type also is empty, came up empty because there is no CI found. And also the no event rule was applied because there was no event rule that was applied to this particular event. I would do similar stuff for another one where we would then have the node populated. So in this case here now, so this is assuming that this is an event coming in from the monitoring tool, and all the attributes are well populated, where we have the node, we have type, we have the severity in there, we have a message key as well. So this message key, of course, is generated by the ServiceNow platform, so that to identify every single event coming into ServiceNow, to say, okay, so this is an event coming in, and for every time this same event comes in, it's going to have the same message key. So when when that event comes in, this is what it would look like, and we can see here that when it was processed, and okay, we're talking about the state here. So when it comes in, when I loaded the data, you would see it would be a ready state, but after it's been processed, it would turn into processed. If that particular event was ignored, the state would be ignored, or if it had an error, for any reason, it would come, the state would be an error state. So here we can see that no CI found for binding. What does it look like? I'm looking at the same. Oh, yeah, of course I was looking at the same. So I'm going to do that all over again because I didn't refresh that list. That's the reason. So I picked the same one. Nameka, please let me know if I'm over time.
No, you're good. You're within time. I
Okay.
don't see any
So
questions in the chat. You're fine.
so I'm just gonna refresh this now to have the yeah. So this is supposed to be the right one because I didn't refresh earlier.
Yeah, take a look. I think you have two there. There's one that was there
I have
before,
no idea
so
what's
you can
happening.
open. Yeah, the second one on that list. The second one on the list, you should.
This one,
They have the same. So this
okay,
should have
yes,
more.
this
That's
is
the
it.
detail. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So looking at this now, we'll see that the processing note here says no event rule was applied. So which means for this particular event, there's no defined event rule for this. However, alert is already bound to CI. So this is bound to, and the reason why it says already bound is because I had a previous event that came in which created an alert that is possibly still open. So that's why it's saying it's already bound to CI. And it did that because there's node available in this particular event coming in. So part of the things that I had to do as a business process consultant on my project is to make sure that the field mapping was done correctly. So what we did was ask for a JSON of the event from Splunk and SolarWind and made sure that we were mapping the fields from these monitoring tools into the right field here on the event management table so that we don't have any issues, when we started to do testing. So it's necessary to look out for this of course, from my analyst perspective to ensure that that whatever events that we're pulling in are actually coming in with the right attributes and also being mapped correctly to the event management table. I, as a business, when I started, when I was going into this implementation, part of what I did was to leverage existing resources already because I mean, why do you have to recreate the wheel if it already exists? So I go into ServiceNow always to leverage the resources that we have, firstly, especially if it's an area that I do not have, maybe like, very much knowledge about. What I do is always go in there to take a look at the product architecture, understand also what customer needs to know before the workshop also. So if there's a need for the customer or the client to already have some things, so that when we're having workshops, we're having meaningful workshops where we can, have discussions and decisions can also be made. So I make sure that I go through important areas or things I can already provide, make a list for the client and things that would be expected from them, so that they are not caught off guard as well during the workshops and, asking questions that they would probably need someone else to be there for. So based on what the agenda of that workshop would be, I also make a list of the stakeholders that need to be there. So I make sure that I have all the right stakeholders and the people that can, provide information and provide decisions and provide answers where needed. So I come over here to the Now Create, I download project workshop. You don't necessarily have to use everything, right? So it depends on what the conversation is about and what's peculiar to your project. So I also go through this and I make sure that whatever information or whatever slides that are not required are, hidden or taken out so that I don't bore my client with unnecessary information. For me, during this project, part of something I already know before, but really did come up as part of the risk or challenges that we faced was the enrichment of the CMDB. So it was necessary that, the CMDB, of course, the clients didn't have a mature one, but they thought they were near mature, but a lot of things came up there where we needed to, even create, do some things that were outside, a little bit just outside of the scope, but it needed to be done because it was impeding the project from progressing, so to say. So yeah, does anyone have any question? I think that's it. Did
Awesome.
I end up showing the workspace? I don't even know.
Yeah, you did. You did. And
Okay.
then you had the demo. Yeah,
Yeah.
you did. So, but great presentation, Noya. We are grateful for you to share. I don't see any question. The only thing I wanted to contribute is to to buttress your point there. So the event means something notable has happened. So, for example, your birthday, your the resumption day, or maybe your child's going to school day, or just simple stuff like that. That's really what it is, right? Or maybe the day you go on vacation, whatever it is. So that it means it's something important, something meaningful has happened. That's what events are. They create a lot. So, for example, you get that reminder on your phone. So whether it's for Amber, the missing car, or you're late for, or you have or your current meeting or whatever, those are a lot. The messages is notifying you, is informing you of stuff. Um, One thing that happens is whatever that event is has to be agreed by the customer, right? Yourself, your customer, because conversation is the catalyst for change. It needs to be registered within ServiceNow system. If not, it's noise. It can't not even be tracked. So that's one thing. There's an event register. The event must be registered there for it to be part of your event playbook, or for your event mechanism for you to be able to report on it, track on it, or create alerts off of it, and then that's for the most part. Then the other one I wanted to also contribute to is to talk about it from the perspective of the analyst, right? Nonya has shared more than is needed. The documentation is out there, as well as the simulations on now learning, which she's using to do that. You have event generators, you have already pre-built applications that connect us, if you will. So they used to have agent client connector. There's other connectors for different monitoring tools, because those tools are just set up to pick up those events when they happen, those registered events, and then they create alerts in whatever system they have, so that they transfer that data, because they are picking those data, those attributes that speaking of are fields, that just fields on the form. So there are fields on the table which show up on the forms or the records, so that those ways you can, whether it's state, whether it's the key, or whether it's the description or whatever you have, those are, and then the binding are just relationships. So, and everything all about this is used for is really about grouping. You're trying to make sense of it. So you try to like provide guidance. So what you do is you put them in different buckets, and then you see how. So whether it's for prioritization, or whether it's for the ones that you let go of, or that you're working to fix, or working with your your vendor, or your IT teams. The whole essence is to help, like she talked about, mature your service delivery. So whether it's helping with baselining, with that's configuration management database, which is your the whole uh, location, or what we call the warehousing of your whole IT estate. So whether it's the different configurations that supports your service delivery or service portfolio. So whether it's the configurations, whether it's logical configurations that you have, or whether it's physical ones. So whether it's you have those devices, switches, routers, or whether it's the services in themselves. So there's it's a requisition service, or the HR service, or application service, whatever it is. All of that is within that your CMDB, and then you are able to use that to get that visibility and improve service delivery, whether it's for major incidents, or whether it's for problems, or whether it's for changes. All of that, even the baseline incident, all of that it's actually made easier, optimized, if you will, for the most part. And then I think that's it. The resources are shared there in the chat. I don't see any questions. Do we have anyone that has any last minute questions? There are a couple of resources that are there. The Now Create one, which you can filter for the event management part of ITOM suites, IT operations management, because it's really about operations. Going ahead to streamline or what we say, optimize your operations. Delivering your services. That's really it. But great, Shanoya. I'm really grateful for you coming to share your journey and the experience it's there. That's really it.
Thank you, Nemeka, for having me. And thank you all for listening.
Couple of minutes, the videos will be out. Go ahead and connect. We also share Noya's contact. You can always connect with her on LinkedIn. The whole essence is to continue to share and then evangelize this whole service now and then the whole IT thing and get as much as we have and then practitioners come share their experiences and really move that conversation forward. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your Saturday with us. Enjoy the rest of it, and then we'll talk to you same time next month. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Oh, bye.
Bye. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Nemeka. Thank you very much.
Can get the recording.
A couple of minutes, we'll share it out. We'll share it on LinkedIn. We'll share it on Telegram. We'll share it on WhatsApp. We'll share it on all the social channels, and then YouTube too as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, thank God.
Thank you, Prof.